Hi, and welcome back to a Save It for Parts gadget review. Today we're taking a look at a night vision monocular from Goyojo. This is a sponsored review, but as with all my sponsored reviews, I try to be very fair and honest to give you the pros and cons of the product. Now right off the bat, we do have some shipping damage because this was shipped just with bubble wrap around it and not within an extra box. I don't personally care because I usually throw the boxes away for my gadgets like this, but yeah, not having it within another box was kind of an unfortunate thing if people enjoy keeping their original boxes. This one got a little chewed up in the mail. In here we have a manual, carrying bag, our monocular unit. This is the Goyojo GNG2K. We have a little mounting plate or device here, and as I opened this, a little screw went pinging away across the desk. I may or may not ever see that screw again. In here, we have a mounting bracket. Seems like another thing with tiny screws in it, so I'm going to be a little more careful opening this package. Right, yes, we have another little bracket with tiny screws and a screwdriver, power cable, wall charger, and battery charger with another power cable. So our main unit here has the little eyepiece. It kind of flips out. And then a lens cap on the front, and it looks like we have a focus adjustment on both the front and the eyepiece. We have some controls here on the side. We have a battery compartment with whatever this is. It looks like this is an 18500s, and I don't really like these batteries with just flat on two ends because I can never tell what's positive and negative, and in fact I'm not seeing a marking on here to know what end goes in which, so I'm gonna have to look at the manual now because I've already forgotten which direction this came out. I had to go back and watch that last clip. It looks like the battery was in there positive down, so positive against the spring in the bottom, which is kind of backwards from every other battery I remember. Now I believe some of these mysterious adapters and mounting hardware go to helmet mounts, which I don't have a helmet that will take this stuff. I kind of regret taking it out of the little packaging because now these tiny screws are just floating around. I'll go find a small Ziploc to put these in. Now, what does this actually look like in use? Well, the resolution is very good. It is a high resolution. It's about a 2K equivalent, so similar to a modern IP security camera. And really, this reminds me of looking at night vision through a security camera. It's essentially the same thing. It's a high sensitivity video camera on the front. It's a monitor on the back, and it has a built-in infrared illuminator. So it's a little bit different from the traditional night vision goggles. If you're used to the old military surplus that you used to buy back in the 90s, the old early generation night vision that used an analog phosphor intensifier type system, this is a digital system. This is basically, again, just a digital camera on the front, a screen, and it's really good at picking up low light. I'd say it looks a heck of a lot better than a lot of the military surplus ones that I've seen in the past. It has 3 different color modes, which are really more like a white balance setting. So you can have natural light, you can have a greenish tint, a whitish tint, or just pure black and white. And these could help bring out different details in different situations. The 3 buttons on the side are pretty intuitive. We just have power on off, and then a quick press of the power button starts or stops recording. We have the white balance mode, and a long press of that turns on the infrared illuminator. And then we have digital zoom, which I never really think much of digital zoom. The default base here is like a 50mm lens. It's basically regular eyesight zoom. It's a 1-power monocular. The image is very slightly off of what your eye actually sees, so you get a little bit of double vision if you're looking at this and you've got your other eye open. If you can see your surroundings enough in the darkness, then you do get a little bit of double vision with this thing, but the effective size of objects is essentially the same. Now, I mentioned earlier that you can get a helmet mount for this, and you can actually get a double helmet mount for 2 of these, so you could have one of these on each eye and have them set up exactly the same and have binocular night vision. And that's a pretty cool option. I did not try that. I only got one of these, and you can mount just one onto a helmet. In the meantime, I did find a way to adapt this to a GoPro mount, so we will try that and just show it off as a head-mounted device, but we'll do that in a little bit here. Now, if you remember, when I popped the battery out the first time, it was in there in this orientation. It had this end pointing up instead of this end. Possibly the factory just installed it backwards, and I've killed it by trying to charge it installed backwards. I'll have to email the company again and see if they can help me with this. All right, we're trying this thing outside, and it does have a microphone, so we can record audio on here. This is great for seeing stars in the city. I can see almost none of these stars with my naked eye. So this is fun, but I do still have that security camera blasting infrared light all over the garage. So I think if we want to test this in complete darkness, we're going to have to take it somewhere else. So I'm down here at the underground speakeasy at Sandland, and you'll notice my voice sounds better all of a sudden and does not match my lips. I had to redo the voiceover on this because the sound quality on the Goyojo unit is pretty terrible. There's a high-pitched whine in the background when you turn the IR illuminator on, and just the overall audio quality, it's mono, it's choppy. It does not make for good audio, and I'm already tired of listening to it as I edit this, so I do apologize for all of the terrible audio in the night vision clips here. We did try this out underground. We did try walking around underground at Sandland using just the IR illuminator and just this thing as a head-mounted camera, and you can actually maneuver through the tunnels. There's no peripheral vision on it, so I did end up stumbling over things and tripping on things and running into walls. It does take some getting used to, but it is perfectly usable underground in complete darkness as long as you have the infrared turned on. All right, so I didn't have the exact helmet for the helmet mount on this, but I was able to rig something up with a GoPro mount, so now it is actually like a video game where I can just wear this thing around and walk around through the tunnels with night vision on my face. This doesn't feel dorky at all. All right, we've come up to the geodesic dome. It's pretty dark in here. This is what I can see. This is what the phone can see versus what the night vision can see. So I've had one major issue with this that I need to talk about, and it's not actually an issue with the device, it's an issue with the battery. The manufacturers chose to use one of these flat top lithium cells. This is an 18500, and the problem with these cells is you cannot tell which direction is positive and negative. Yeah, sure, if you look at it really close, it's marked on there positive and negative, but if you are using this in the dark, if you are trying to replace your battery in the dark, which seems like a common situation with a night vision goggle, there's no way to tell by feel which end is positive. There is a little lip here, which I can kind of find with my fingernail, but again, if I was fumbling around in the dark trying to replace a battery on my night vision, I would never find that lip, and I would have only a 50% chance of properly reloading the battery or putting it in upside down and burning out either the unit or the battery. In fact, that happened. Straight from the factory, this came with the battery upside down because even the factory cannot tell which direction these stupid flat top cells go. So I got this right out of the package. The battery was installed incorrectly. I couldn't get it to charge. I could get it to heat up a lot, and the battery was completely dead when I tested it with a multimeter. I'm lucky it didn't start a fire or something. So yeah, these flat top cells are designed so poorly that even device manufacturers don't know how to use them. Even the factory that puts this together doesn't know which direction to put the battery in. So yeah, sadly, these flat top cells are kind of polluting our device environment, and I would hope that companies don't use these for removable rechargeable batteries in devices like this. They're supposed to be soldered into a big cell like a scooter pack or something. They're not really supposed to be used in stuff like this. They should be using something with the little nub on top like the old style dry cell battery that you can tactily tell which end is positive, and then there needs to be more indication on here of which end is up. There's a tiny little plus symbol on the battery door latch, but it's not super clear which direction this goes, and it will charge in the device. So if you charge this, you don't necessarily need to take the battery out. If you always keep it charged, if you have a way to feed it external power, it does actually have external power here. It's got this little two-prong plug that I think you could use with a helmet mount, and it also has USB-C down here, so you can charge it in the device. You don't necessarily need to take the battery out, but if you're out in the woods somewhere, if you run out of battery and you have a spare one in your pocket, good luck trying to replace it without having a second night vision device or a flashlight, which is going to blow your position if you're trying to be sneaky. Anyway, that's really the only major problem I had with this. There are a couple other minor issues I had. For one thing, the infrared illuminator kind of gets blocked. If I hold this in a natural way, one of my fingers is almost always in front of that illuminator, so I have to kind of make sure to hold it in specific ways so that I'm not blocking that. And the only other issue I had was that the video recording only saves in 1-minute chunks. So when you hit record here, it'll keep recording, but it'll just save a million 1-minute long files. And when I put those onto my computer, they kind of all ended up out of order. I think, again, because the battery was dead, the timestamp was not correct, and so the files weren't properly timestamping. So when I went back to reuse those files in this video and edit them, I had to kind of go through and figure out which files went where. So those are some of the negatives, and they're not terrible negatives. Other than the battery issue, the other things really aren't a big deal. Now, on to the positives. I do like the resolution on this. I like the light sensitivity. I like how bright the infrared illuminator will get. It definitely lights up a room very well on that high setting. The different color modes are nice. Mostly I stuck with the natural color. The other ones just kind of look like a Photoshop filter. I don't really see any benefit to using the green mode or the white mode. I guess if that's your preference for how night vision should look, then they look okay, but the color mode I think has the most detail and kind of brings out the best scenery. And this really does work great in almost no light. Basically, it's a starlight scope. If you have stars in the sky, this will give you enough light to be able to see your surroundings. Now, it won't work underground until you turn on the illuminator, but there is absolutely no light underground, so that makes sense. I do like the multiple mounting options that you can use this as a handheld monocular. You can use it as a binocular with 2 units. You can mount it onto a helmet. And then I like the loop recording mode. So you can set it up to kind of record constantly and just overwrite the oldest files, almost like a security camera. So that's pretty cool. Yeah, overall, I would say this is a cool little device, and it's kind of a fun thing to play around with outside at night, and especially underground. I might take this back to Sandland and do some other things with it. I can think of some other ideas for it, both underground and outside, away from the city at nighttime. I will put links to the Goyojo Night Vision monocular down in the description if you want to check this out for yourself. And I would like to thank Goyojo for sending me this to review. I hope this has been an interesting review for everyone. Thank you for watching, and we'll see you next time.